baking is an addictive process, and if the bread turns out to be really delicious, you get addicted to that bread. So I'm making today focaccia, an Italian flatbread, which is quite simple, very easy, and so delicious. You make it once, you'll continue baking it very often, just as I do. Okay, so I have my flour, 2.5 cups, and by the way, for the flour, you can always substitute with whole wheat flour. Sometimes I use 2 cups regular all-purpose and then half a cup whole wheat flour, or you can use however you prefer. Okay, so I have my flour, and I like using instant yeast with my bread. It's much faster. I have a teaspoonful of instant yeast, which is half of a pack. Yes, that's that. And then I have 1/3 of a cup semolina, a tablespoon of kosher salt, and 2 tablespoons of honey. Or you can just use sugar. That, and I also have 1.5 cup warm water, and just stir everything together. And you can always make this bread with hands. You don't have to have the mixer, but this way is faster and much easier. Just give it a quick mix. And you can start mixing, continue mixing with your mixer. And of course with your hook attachment, yeah, it's here. Probably 2 or 3 minutes, just to bring everything together. And what I also would recommend, and this is optional, I don't always add this just because my kids don't like any greens in their breads. So this is dried rosemary. You can also use fresh, just chop it finely and use it. And this time I'm going to just put a little bit, like 2 or 3 pinches, okay. And again, if you don't, because I think this is really strong herb, I don't know, could be someone that's not very interested in that flavor. Just give it a quick mix, and I started with 2.5 cups, and as you can see, this is really sticky and like wet dough. At this point you can add another 1/2 cup of flour to bring everything together. So overall we're gonna use 3 cups of flour. This is done, and again, this is gonna look even after adding an extra flour, it's gonna look like sticky and kind of elastic dough. And don't panic, you can always fix it. And by that I mean when you start kneading, it's gonna come all together and get a little easier to handle. A little bit of flour to your clean working surface, a little bit more, I'm going to use my bowl scraper just to clean everything. You don't want to waste that precious dough. And because this is kind of a hard to handle mixture of dough, I would recommend to get one of these bench scrapers, the best kitchen tool ever, and just with the help. If you don't have, you can just use a regular like spatula just to bring everything together like this. But I'm gonna use something that's easier. As you continue to folding the dough together, it gets less sticky, and you can just continue kneading with your hands. And you don't have to add too much flour to your dough. You don't want to have stiff bread. It's gonna be soft, a bit sticky, and just use all the extra flour you have on your surface. You don't have to add too much. As long as it doesn't stick very bad, you don't have to add too much flour. Just a few minutes. Need just to bring everything nice and just like this. And a clean bowl. A little bit of olive oil. I say a little bit and continue drizzling it all over, just like that. And just see how sticky it is. Just a little bit more flour, probably. Just so you are able to work with the dough. And just turn it once. Make sure to cover the dough with olive oil entirely so it doesn't have that dry crust. And we're going to cover it with plastic wrap. And of course you want to put this in the warmest place in your kitchen. Mine is my microwave. It should take probably 45 minutes to an hour for the dough to rise, and I made another one earlier, of course. It should look just like this, really nice and all puffy. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna punch that air out of the dough, just like this. And I forgot to flour my surface. And just quickly bring the dough together, like fold it just like so, a couple of times. And you want to do this process twice. Just punch the dough out, fold it a few times, put it back in your oiled, greased bowl, and let it rise another 45 minutes to an hour. So this one I made already twice. I did the process twice, so this one is ready to. Here is the other process that this dough has to go through. The third rise process, and it's already should be in the pan. And what you're gonna do, of course, it's focaccia, and it needs lots of olive oil. So you drizzle your baking. And I have 9x13 baking pan. I'm just gonna drizzle it with olive oil, and don't be scared to use your hands. You can always wipe it on your dough. It's gonna need that anyways. And I like to drizzle it with cornmeal. You can also use semolina if you like, just to make sure it doesn't stick, and it also gives some really nice texture and good taste to the bread. And you're gonna just pull your dough just like this, just stretch it from corners. And instead of using flour at this point, I would rather recommend using olive oil than flour, just for a few minutes. Just pull it from corners. And if you don't have one of these 9x13 baking sheet, just use any of your cookie sheet, that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfectly sized. And you're just gonna transfer the dough into your pan and continue stretching in the pan, just to give it the shape. And again, you need to drizzle it with oil. And this is the process that is required when you make a focaccia. You need to punch the dough with your fingers, and it's gonna be easier if you drizzle it with olive oil. And it looks already very appetizing, but not ready to eat yet. I'm just gonna add a few more spices, and what I like to do, I'll add the kosher salt, just lightly, or if you like it really salty, use more, and you can also use sea salt. And I also add black pepper. If you want to leave out the black pepper, it's fine, but don't leave out the salt. And of course, rosemary. Also, this is not a required spice for focaccia, but it tastes so good with this red pepper, Aleppo pepper as they call, just a tiny bit. And you are going to let this rice another 20 to 25 minutes. It's not gonna take too long. And of course you have to cover it with plastic wrap and start preheating your oven to 475 degrees. Just to show you how else you can make that focaccia. If you like more flavorful, which I do, see, I have another one here. This one I added half a cup of whole wheat flour, and the dough has different texture and much easier to handle. So, but I still need some flour anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna split this in 2 portions. Just like this. And I have 2 loaf pans, regular 4x8. And what I'm gonna do, again, just the way I did with the other bread, I'm just gonna drizzle with olive oil, spread out that oil, my cornmeal. That happens. That's it. And I'm just gonna again stretch it like so into the pan. Same process as you do the other one. It just for this one, I'm going to add some Kalamata olives and crushed red pepper, and it's gonna taste really good. And on this specific one, I'm not gonna add too much salt because Kalamata olives have already that salty flavor, so just light drizzle of kosher salt. This one is ready to go as well, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do with the other one. And again, it should take 20 to 25 minutes for this to rise. A little bit of flour, and pull the dough just like you do the other ones into your pan. And by the way, this second one I should have made it with 3 different loaves. It's gonna be a bit thick dough, bread, but that's fine. Same process with this one. And you want it to absorb. The reason of like dotting this dough, just to make sure it absorbs that olive oil. And this last one, I'm gonna use a few bites of prosciutto and just squeeze it into that bread, just like so. Again, this is something you just you wanna use your imagination, as I said, and use any. And the prosciutto is an Italian food as well. That's why if you're making something from Italian cuisine, you rather use Italian spices and ingredients. So this is for the other one, and of course I like adding olives to my focaccia. For this specific kind, I'm gonna add dry olives, black olives, just a few of them, and it's gonna also like give a nice design to your bread. These are done, and they will rise another 20 to 25 minutes, and then we can bake them. These are ready, and it's been 25 minutes, 50 minutes, 25 minutes, and look, they already look beautiful, all nice and puffy. And I'm gonna bake these 475 oven, about 15 to 20 minutes. While it's baking, I'm just gonna show you how to make this dip with olive oil and olives. I have half a cup of olive oil, a pinch of black pepper, 10 to 12 olives that I removed the seeds from and ended up splashing my dress as well, and a garlic clove. That's it, and I'm just gonna mix it quickly with my processor. Alright, this is ready. All you need to do is to drizzle some olive oil, and you can never have enough olive oil on your focaccia. Just drizzle it generously, please. Leave it at least 5 minutes before you remove from your pan, because you want the bread to absorb olive oil. And these are already, this baked faster than this one because they are smaller in size, and these look rather focaccia loaves than flatbread focaccia. So I'm just gonna, and it's still pretty hot. What I'm gonna do, I will just put this on my cooling rack, because you don't want the bottom part to be soggy, and if you leave it on with the pan, and it's inside the pan, it will get a bit soggy because of the heat. Another thing I like to do with my focaccia is I take a garlic clove and just rub it on the bread lightly, and this is optional, you don't have to do it. Let me just slice it so it rubs better, and it will give you a nice garlicky, olive oily flavor. And it's so delicious, it's just hard to resist delicious. That's it. And I'm just gonna take this out from its pan. So beautiful and fully baked. And I would suggest to leave the bread at least 10 minutes to cool down before you cut it. Traditional way of making focaccia, of course, you have to spread it out on your cookie or baking sheet, just to make sure it's a flat bread. This one came out like loaves of bread, but the taste is still focaccia taste. So I'm just gonna dip it in my tapenade. I hope you guys try it, and leave me comments if you like, questions after the video. I will leave detailed recipe in my website.